happened. RJ, are you there?
I'm here. Ready to go?
Don't be
Okay.
shy.
All right. Good evening. My name is Ronika Williams, but all my good friends call me RJ. And welcome to Volume 20 of our PechaKucha for St. Joe and Ben Harbor. Round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so before we even get the night started, if you're new here, I'm going to explain what PechaKucha is. So PechaKucha is actually Japanese for the sound of chit-chat. And so tonight you're going to see presenters with 20 slides, which is 20 photos, for 20 seconds per slide. That's going to give you a 6-minute and 40-second story. So you're in for a great night because we have 9 presenters coming to you. So because of COVID-19, we are doing this virtually. So I'm used to having, a whole crowd and feeding off of that, but now I'm feeding off of your virtual energy. I'm feeding off of it.
How's it feel?
It feels good. It feels real good.
Good.
It feels good. So PechaKucha Global has done 14 presentations before this. So we are happy to be on the bandwagon and present this to you tonight while we're staying home and staying safe. So we want to also remind you of our hashtag this evening. Hashtag. See, I have a hashtag. Hashtag. Our hashtag is PKSJBH. Again, our hashtag is PKSJBH. And because we're on this platform tonight, you're going to hear because I'm presenting tonight, that the nail color for tonight is Party on a Platform.
Oh, it's perfect.
We're partying on this platform. Ooh, 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 ooh. Okay, so next up, we wanted to be able to bring you this virtually, even though it's our volume 20, so it's a special volume 20 in 2020, get it? But we still have an Eventbrite page. If you feel like donating, you can slide into the Eventbrite and drop a little something off. But if not, we're just happy that you're here and spending the evening with us.
Thank you all.
Yes, thank you, and you, and you, and you, and you, and all of y'all. So we are happy to have not only the SJBH, which is St. Joe and Ben Harbor organizers, with us tonight, but we also have a few friends from Tokyo, New York, and London. So we have Mark, who is the co-founder of PechaKucha Global, joining us from Tokyo tonight, Chris Gregory from New York, hey Chris, and Jude Pullen, our new friend from London. So what are you in for tonight? Fun. Hello. So tonight we'll have 5 presenters, and then in true form, we're going to have a beer break. Now, I know that you're at home, so you probably have beer, wine, libations. You are your own bartender, so I'm not going to tell you how much to pour. Well, yes, I am, because I want you to stick around, so don't pour too much. So have a little something now, and go back and, refill.
Pace yourself.
Yeah, you got to totally pace yourself. So after that beer break, we're going to have the last 4 presenters, and then we're going to just round out the night, okay? So it's going to be a good night, ladies and gentlemen, a good night. So we want to talk about how did all this come together, our behind the scenes. So all the people that are on the screen, this wouldn't be possible without them. So we also want to give a special thank you to Mark Strauss, who was on a call with us yesterday trying to get us together for tonight, okay? Woo. Patience. He had a lot of patience. No, I'm just kidding. We also want to thank Krazel and Whiteman and Matthew for the tech. He's the reason why we're on YouTube tonight. Hey, guys.
Thanks, Bizzo.
And then we want to also thank Sarah for our graphics. Also, Paul Mao of the Gaslight Theater for encouraging this online endeavor.
Not the gaslight, RJ. Very important. It's the ghost light.
Gosh, they're gonna get me. Ghost. That's because I'm on gas. Okay.
Let's start over.
I'm going. One more time. Paul, don't hurt me. Paul, Ghostlight. Ghostlight has a special place in my heart. We've been looking at something from Ghostlight over here, so they have a special place in my heart. So Paul is one of the reasons why we're also here, because he encouraged that we do this. Because of COVID-19, we are in a space where we're bringing you live content from the comfort of our own homes and our own offices. And we also want to thank Mark and Brian Peterson, who are the founders of the PK, and just putting this all together with bringing together our online experience for PechaKucha. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce our MC for the evening. Oh, there he is. Oh, there he is. Here he comes, ladies and gentlemen.
Woo! Are you gonna say my name, or I thought you were introducing me?
I was totally, I wanted to do it after.
Oh, okay.
Good friend Nathan.
Oh, wait.
It's our good friend Nathan. Nathan, come on in the room. Woo!
Hello, Nathan.
I'll make the same pose I'm making in the video. So for all of our non-St. Joseph Benton Harbor friends, me doing cartwheels is kind of a thing at all of our PechaKucha events. I've probably done hundreds of them at this point. So we did some pre-recordings of cartwheels going on. This one is taking place in front of the Livery in Benton Harbor, one of our most beloved venues that we usually perform at twice a year. Shop at the Livery, support the Livery, they're amazing. Okay, but let's get started. We have a very exciting list of presenters, as RJ mentioned. And we're gonna start with the OG, the very founder of PechaKucha, which is super exciting. Mark Dytham. He was born in the UK, studied architecture at the Royal College of Art in London. In 1989, he traveled with his business partner, Astrid Klein, to Tokyo, and together they found work with Toyo Ito. That's an architecture firm. They soon established Klein Dytham Architecture, working freely across disciplines, including architecture, interiors, furniture, installations, and events. The title of Mark's presentation is Inspire the World. We're very excited to have him here with us. Please welcome Mark Dytham to the stage.
Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you so much, everybody.
Wild, I assume.
Thank you. Congratulations on holding your 20th PechaKucha night tonight. And thank you so much for joining our Inspire program. Remind me later. Hold on one second. I've got some tech issues. We're good. So thank you. Why don't we kick the slides off and get going? And I'll do a little bit of introduction about who I am and what we do in the slides. So yeah, from Tokyo to the world, more specifically to Benton Harbor and St. Joseph. We love you. Thank you so much. This started off as a one-off event in Tokyo, and over several years we've spread to 1,223 cities around the world which hold PechaKucha nights. And we love you guys, and thank you so much for joining the network. I have a day job. I'm an architect along with Astrid Klein and Yukinari Hisayama. We run Klein Dytham Architecture here in Tokyo. We've been practicing for over 20 years here. And here's a couple of our projects. This is Ginza Place. It's on the main crossroads in Tokyo, and is the new headquarters showroom for Nissan. We're very proud of that project. And this is another project. This is a wedding chapel in the southern Alps of Japan. It's designed like a huge wedding veil. So when the a groom kisses the bride and picks up the veil, this veil swings open. It's perforated with 4,700 holes. So I have a night job as well, which is running PechaKucha night. As I said, it's now spread to over 1,200 cities around the world. And it's a very simple format. We started in our art space in Tokyo called Super Deluxe. And we wanted architects to show and share what they were doing. And yeah, the architects talk too much, huh? And so we restricted them for 20 slides, 20 seconds. And I was going to talk tonight about Inspire and our Inspire program, because we pulled the network together. After the earthquake in Haiti, a month later, we came together and held an online Skype all around the world. This is in 2010. It was a nightmare. But amazingly, we raised, there was about over 100 cities came together. We raised $100,000 for Haiti. And along with Architecture for Humanity and Ben Stiller Foundation, we built a school there, which is really amazing. That was in 2010. And that school opened in February 2010. On the 9th of March, 2011, we had the huge earthquake in Tokyo and the tsunami. And this is the area that we've been working in, called Natori. You can see that 130,000 homes were destroyed across the area, and 500,000 buildings were rebuilt. So again, we were thinking what we could do. Japan has inspired the world with its design and culture. So the network got together and we set up this idea of Inspire Japan. Could the world inspire Japan back, as it were? And again, about a month later, we held this amazing Inspire Japan event, our first real Inspire event. 105 cities came together on one day. And again, we were very lucky, and everybody was very generous. And we raised another $100,000. And we were lucky enough to build a sports facility, which I think is coming up in the next slide. But it was amazing how the world can pull together. And this was the beginnings of our Inspire program. This sports center was built because most of the sports areas were used for temporary housing in Japan and all disappeared. And so along with Nike and again, Architecture of Humanity, we managed to build this new sports pavilion, which is still there and is still being used. So over the course of 10 years, we've been capturing these events and the happenings and all the good things. There's a lot of creativity, a lot of ingenuity has come out of the earthquake in Japan. And we've been capturing those in the 20 slides, 20 seconds format. People have been giving presentations either in the area or in Tokyo. The presentation on the left is about what it's like to live in a temporary home. And the presentation on the right is a crowdsourced radiation detection system called Safecast. In fact, they're doing quite a lot of work now trying to track the COVID across Japan. So this project sort of grew, and one of our cities, Christchurch, is a very strong PechaKucha city in New Zealand. They've had 3 major earthquakes all over magnitude 7. And so we've held events for them, we've held events in Nepal, and we've held events in Kumamoto, where there's another huge earthquake which destroyed the city. So when we had this issue came about, we thought that we would try and do something else. Next time, let's inspire the world. This is a global pandemic, a global problem. So we held Inspire the World. And we had our first event on the 15th of April, 16th in Japan. And Lana, the host with the most, from Benton Harbor, was our host and MC, and she did a fabulous job. And I say really thank you to her. But we had a great set lineup of presenters, including Carl Bass, who was a former CEO of Autodesk, Yves Behar, who's one of the most prominent industrial designers in the world. So Carl, his presentation was about how he just used the normal baseball caps and repurposed them with a piece of acrylic in the front to make some PPE equipment. It was really interesting, and he went through the whole process and how all of the big companies in America are sending him caps so he can clip on the acrylic on the front. This is Dupe Health. This is from Cameron Sinclair, who I talked about a little bit earlier. So they're looking at making these rapidly deployable small hospital units, which is really for the countryside type areas when they've got a COVID explosion. And this is Nozina. He's very cleverly just taken an A4 or a letter size folding sheet of clear slip file, and with 2 cuts, you can make a face mask look like this. Ingenious. His video has been viewed over 5 million times. And then I want to talk a little bit about PechaKucha Create. Right now, you can make presentations just like this online. Go to our website, click on Create, and away you go. And our intern went back to her family in China, into Wuhan, and she managed to make her presentations about what it was like being locked down there for 76 days. So it was really amazing. So please check all those out online. But I want to say a huge thank you to you all again in St. Joseph and Benton Harbor. Thank you for being such fantastic PechaKucha people in our network. And congratulations again on keeping it running for 20 volumes. Look forward to coming back to your 40th. Have a great night. Thank you.
Yay. Thanks, Mark. That was incredible.
Thank you.
I know a lot of our listeners are like, what's PechaKucha? Because we always call it PechaKucha, but it's the same thing, people.
Yeah, so it's so what we always say, you can say it, and it's PechaKucha, obviously, as it was written down. In Japan, it gets sort of truncated to PechaKucha. You can call it PK, but it's not Machu Picchu and it's not Projector Night. It's PechaKucha Night.
Yes. All right. Well, you've cleared up, years of debate. So thank you very much for that. And thanks for tuning and coming in at 7 a.m. It's 7 a.m.
Awesome.
in Tokyo. We really appreciate you getting up early for us.
Yeah, I was a little bit rusty on that presentation. I'm sorry. It's been a little,
No, you were
bit, a
great.
little bit early in the morning.
I think I'm gonna try to make one of those plastic folder hats during the break here.
Yeah, just go to his website, Noziner, and you just get a photocopy of and you slip it into the folder, and you cut on the two lines. It's kind of genius.
Awesome.
And yeah, as I say, within 1 week, it got 4 million views.
Whoa. Okay. Well, thanks for kicking us off, getting us off to a really good start, and let's keep on moving. We're gonna bring it back to the local crew here with Miss Sarah Katanko. Sarah just came from an axe throwing competition. That's true. Apparently, you can still do that. She's social distance somehow. She made it work.
I did make it work. Thank you.
And you said you performed well tonight, right?
I did. I threw my best match of this virtual season. So
Wow.
Thank you to all of you for inspiring me to do that.
You're very welcome, Sarah. Well, the title of Sarah Katanko's presentation is Mindless Entertainment Made Engrossing. Sarah is an interior designer at Whiteman. She enjoys designing spaces that are both functional and aesthetically pleasing, spaces that people want to spend their time in. Aside from working as a designer, Sarah enjoys being a part of the PechaKucha team. You may know her as one of the Sloth Girls. I'm not going to explain that. You either know it or you don't. She helps with the graphics and usually brings the chairs to our events. Thank you so much. That's hard work. When she is not working or being a sloth, she loves to play volleyball and throw axes with friends. Please welcome Sarah Katanko.
Thank you, Nate, for that wonderful introduction. I'm just gonna start by saying I'm nervous. I can't see all of you, but I am nervous. So bear with me.
You got this, little buddy.
Thanks, little buddy.
Don't be scared.
All right, we can go ahead and get started. So we're talking about memes. The first meme, as seen here, was drawn in 1921. It says how you think you look when a flashlight is taken and how you really look. Most of us have probably seen memes of this flavor throughout time. And we've really come a long way in our abilities to create them and the content that are in them. So the definition of a meme is a humorous image, video, piece of text, and that is copied, often with slight variation, and spread rapidly by internet users. But this term was first coined in 1976 by Richard Dawkins in his book, The Selfish Gene. He defined a meme as a unit of cultural transmission or a unit of imitation and replication, and later definitions would vary. So we've probably all heard the term, a picture is worth 1,000 words. When you see this picture on the right, you think of the words such as food or pizza or cheese or tomato. So when you combine a picture such as the one that we just saw with text, like in this one, you'll see that the, when we see words like this that bring us to, I'm sorry, I got a little flustered there. So memes can bring satisfaction to us and they can connect us throughout the world. This picture, when you're in a supermarket and you find that perfect avocado, it can relate to someone else across the world who also finds that perfect dragon egg. So the internet really has helped us have a platform for spreading our emotions, for posting stuff. It's really just at our fingertips. We can just go ahead and push post and it's up. But we have to ask ourselves to meme or not to meme, because some things are probably not worth it. Some things should be thought better about, or you should have better judgment when you're thinking about memeing them. You have to think about who your target audience is and what you're trying to get across. So one does not simply generate a meme, just as one does not simply walk to Mordor. It's not something that you can do. It's not something that's easy. So you have to think about what joke you're trying to get across, what image you want, what you want your meme to say, and what your font is. Sometimes memes use fonts like Comic Sans. Comic Sans has its place in the world, and some of us don't necessarily enjoy this font, and we definitely feel like Pepe because it just shouldn't be used. Other memes are used to just be cute. Pumpkin or pumpkin, it's cute no matter what. This cat, he's angry, he's gonna do what he wants, he's gonna say pumpkin, and there's nothing these chicks can do about it, and it's fine. It's all fine. Other times, memes are used to generate a shared response, such as if someone asks me if I want 5 golden retriever puppies, I'm gonna say, shut up and take my money. If I had kids, which I don't, but if I did, and someone said, do you want maybe a day away from your kids during quarantine? I'm gonna say, shut up and take my money. That would be a success. And then I would be just like this little baby. This baby shows us that just simple little things in life are a success. Some people think that when you go to Target and you don't buy anything that you don't need, that's a success. Those people are wrong. Other times, memes can be used to poke fun at a common thing, such as if Nick Cage can still get work, then you can do absolutely anything. I don't really know how his movies keep happening because he plays the same role and does the same face in everything. So, you know, sometimes our memes are out there to help us find who we really are. Help you find your personality and your true passions. So you might feel philosophical if you're reading the works by Aristotle, or you might be soul searching and finding your spirit animal on a romantic walk to the fridge. It's all about finding your inner you. Spiders are terrifying. I feel much like this little girl because I found a spider in my bathroom and I too lit my house on fire. It's gone. Moving on, memes help us with our fashion. Some things, like this one, help us learn that we need new friends, we need some new jewelry, some new hair would be great. Don't forget your leopard print, guys. You'll be riding in style in your new golf cart. Other times, memes help us just get our point across. Most people who watch Tiger King probably had a chance to get their thoughts out about the show, but Netflix really couldn't have created or released it at the right time. I'm not gonna be rubbing any bottles anytime soon, but if I was, I wouldn't be hoping for that. I'd be crossing my fingers for Will Smith. Other times we think about pop culture when we use memes. Like if 2020 were a person, it would probably be Umbridge, and it's okay. I don't know about you guys, but I'm very, very excited that everyone has learned to wash their hands and clean their surfaces. And 2020 summer is going to be great, comparing all of our hazmat suits. And I can't wait to see all the new tan lines. It's going to be fantastic, and we're going to be okay. So as my talk comes to a close, I'd like to draw us back to where we started. 99 years ago, this meme was created, and it still applies today. I got 99 problems, but a meme ain't one. Unfortunately, bad Zoom faces.
Wow. Oh, wow. I started cracking up halfway through each slide because that's how long it took me to read. Very good, Katanko. That hat looks great on you.
Thank you.
You're a fountain of knowledge. So we're gonna keep moving. We started international. We brought it back home. Now we're going back out. We're going to London, baby. Jude Poland is our next presenter, and the title of his presentation is Prototyping Expert and Technologist. I assume he's talking about himself. A technologist and physical prototyping expert, Jude has worked at Dyson, Lego, and a number of startups, helping shape their futures through design thinking and novel use of technologies. He is one of the 8 featured inventors in BBC Two's Big Life Fix documentary series that helps people with disabilities through technology and design. At home, he builds bespoke games for his 4-year-old. Hold on, I'm reading this bio off of actual paper. I regret that. The latest being a cardboard loop-the-loops for toy cars. That's really cool. In response to COVID-19, he's most recently worked with a Welsh university to create an 8-part series of lockdown lectures from conception to publication in just 2 weeks. Check out all the interesting work he's doing at judepoland.com or his YouTube channel, youtube.com/JudePoland. Please welcome Jude Poland.
Woo!
Get him.
This is a good experience. Let's go. Let's do this. All right. So as Nat mentioned, lockdown lectures. So this is basically, in the truest sense of the word, a bit of a blind panic in that I put this together in 2 weeks, kind of in response to the COVID situation, as a bunch of university students were basically without lecture courses. So I basically had been working with this incredible university, Bangor University, which is in the middle of Wales. And I usually would have gone to their end of year design conference, which has the likes of, you know, people from Seymour Powell, Unilever, IDEO. And so it's just an incredible thing, but it's out in the middle of the sticks. For anyone who doesn't know, it's Wales, and it's a little bit like this place, which is Cumbria, or the Lake District, which is where I grew up. And in many ways, it sounds weird to say it these days, but as a kid, I didn't even know that you could become a designer. I didn't know how to become a designer. So I've always had this like chip on my shoulder of like wanting to reach out to sort of unusual communities and engage them in the power of design. And in many ways, I've always been someone, perhaps it is growing up in the sticks, who has to be quite resourceful. So I get a lot done in basically a 2-meter cube, which is where I'm sitting here in my virtual background. And basically, this is my setup. It's just basic, my laptop, get it done. And I actually had a few comments on YouTube of saying like, oh, by the way, what software did you use? It's kind of interesting how you've got all those tiling together. And you go, sorry, man, it's just screen capture. And I've got a PDF there, which I scroll through, my photo booth, and then a text editor underneath. And I basically just put them together and then recorded it like that. So that sort of like hacker mentality has always been like in me. And when I look at looking back at the first design modeling series I did, showing people how to make prototypes from cardboard at Dyson, I've actually got a tripod where that orange arrow is hanging from the ceiling with a camera and my wife's makeup mirror so that I can see what my hands are doing. So it's kind of always been quick and dirty and rough prototyping. And that's what this 2-week thing was thrown together with. So it started off with this big chunk of practical skills, prototyping, and then move forward to stuff to do with like life skills and, you know, how you can get a job. I could have talked about all the cool stuff I'd done with Lego and Dyson and blah, blah, blah. But instead, I actually wanted to talk about my final year project to really put myself back in time to what it felt like to be a student. So I worked a lot with my final year project and showed how I engaged the NHS and medical staff and basically created this device that was helpful. One of the great things that I really loved was that, again, we took time to sort of do a Q&A, and actually I'd done a second one just this morning before I came here. And it's just really great to engage students in all those sort of like nitty-gritty questions which never really get answered in the lecture. So it's just a really good calibration, I feel. One of the things that I thought would be nice to share with you, I guess, with the sort of PK community is this sort of philosophy around sort of T-shaped people, which is basically saying you've got a load of little broad experiences in your life, which are very diverse, and a few things which are quite deep and intense, and you're very passionate and indeed possibly expert about. And I kind of wanted to relate that to sort of students, saying that actually this is exactly the same, whether you're in a Zoom environment, a little bit like we are now with PK. And what's interesting is how we connect together. So this little example of taking a blue skill and bridging it with disparate people, either in an organization or around the globe. But I kind of reflected on my sort of experiences, and I realized actually my T-shaped bricks, if you want to call them that, have actually been scattered all around the world from different experiences that I've had. And I really was sort of wanting to land that message of saying, you know, really it isn't just about trying to get a job, it's trying to get diverse experiences. And so, of course, I've got, you know, after 10 years in the game, I've got all these different experiences, as I said, of working with the NHS, Dyson, Lego, blah, blah, blah. But I realized all these questions that the students were asking me, I didn't want to come across as some sort of oracle, because I'm obviously not. But all of this network was incredible. So I wanted to basically like hit up these people and say, hey, can I interview you on Zoom? And so basically ad hoc on top of this lockdown lecture series, I interviewed a ton of people, 20 people in 3 days. It was absolutely crazy, just hammering through it with Zoom. And one of the things I just loved about this was the spontaneity, but what I didn't love was the sound quality of Zoom. So we're actually doing this now. We're recording this on my phone, and I've trademarked this, that I call it the acoustic pillow, which is putting your phone on a little bit of cloth or something, and that stops all the sound bouncing around. I'll come back to that a little bit later on. But one of the things I really loved, and this is talking to Sarah from the British Museum, like the British Museum, which is just nuts. I mean, this is one of the side benefits. You get to like call people like this who you'd never get access to usually. But she's just obviously quite bemused at this little hack, and is just showing how really this is going to help bring the audio quality together. And so I'm actually really proud of it, that when I look back at it, of course, we've got really great, you know, presentations. And as you can see here, we were talking through everything from manga, kids, LGBT, ancient artifacts. And it's so important to have good sound, because if you don't, it's just one of those things that really unhinges the experience for people. So this is where I've definitely got to give a big shout out to the chap here, Gibran Farah, who helped me do this. So it was him and myself that brainstormed this little mobile phone recording hack. But the clever bit is he puts all the audio stuff together to bring it all together into what I guess you'd call a Zoomcast or a Vcast. So I love the fact that this is an emergent thing already. But I guess what I'm really proud of is when I look back at this, I've got all the stuff on the left, which is me doing my lecture, but then everything on the right complements it with a lot more breadth and depth from people who I massively respect and look up to. And it's just been a huge privilege to get all their insights, all their feedback. And so, as you can see from these titles, absolutely crazy diverse bunch of people and experiences. And I truly believe it is one of those great moments where the product was greater than the sum of the parts. So I'll hopefully put a link in below, and please check it out. But I really love doing this, and it's definitely been a silver lining coming out of the COVID experience. Thanks a lot.
Woo! Thank you, Jude.
Great job. Thank you, Jade.
Job.
We're
Awesome.
so
Thanks.
happy to have, oh, sorry, Mark, I stepped on you. I was just gonna say, we're so happy to have designers, creative people like you in this time. You know, we need you guys more than ever. Did you have something you wanted to say, Mark?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I mean, we've had similar experiences with PechaKucha. It's really, yeah, it is a very sad moment, this all around the world, but there are silver linings and there are inspirational things which come out of this. And what Jude's picked up on is amazing too. We have to talk more, Jude, about this, especially the sound. Because I think my sound's pretty bad today, but we'll get there. And this is our 15th event that we've run like this, and we learn something each time, and we learn from one another. And it is really amazing how we're bringing the world closer together through this. Although we are all socially distanced, this is actually bringing us much closer together and improving our community. The fact that we can all jump in from all around the world to Benton Harbor and St. Joseph, it's really amazing. And so it's really so fantastic. And it's a new era for PechaKucha, really.
Absolutely. Incredible experience.
That's
And
right.
I think in many ways, I guess I could add that in some ways it's one of those things where, you know, the necessity is, you know, the mother of invention. And I think that you're going to start to see more hacks and ways to bring people together in a more effective way. So I think as someone who's done PechaKucha live with an audience and then now digitally, I think in many ways, I don't really consider them similar. They're just excitingly different. And that's what I love about doing this. So it's a real pleasure and an honor. So thank you so much. On with the show.
All right, thanks again, Jude. Lana, are you ready? Oh, Mark.
Can I jump in here before introducing? So we're getting reports, this just in, we're getting reports of people getting dropped on the YouTube live stream. So the best thing that we can share is to close your browser, reopen and re-click the link fresh, like on YouTube, you know, or if you're on your phone, that kind of thing. So,
Okay. Thank you,
All
Lana.
right.
So we'll give people
I
a few
hope mine
seconds to refresh. All right, should we go forward?
yeah, go forward. But if it drops, just try again. We hope we don't lose anyone.
Yeah, we're so sorry for the technical difficulties, but hopefully we'll get it back up here. Well, Lana is the OG of the St. Joe Benton Harbor PechaKucha. She's been very involved, kind of one of our fierce leaders from the very beginning. So thank you, Lana. And the title of her presentation today is How Being a DIY Home Decor Instagrammer Prepared Me for Home Quarantine. So I'm so happy for you. For the past few years, Lana DeFrancesco has helped advance communication and engagement with numerous creative nonprofits in Southwest Michigan. The Southwest Michigan Symphony Orchestra, Krasel Art Center, ARS Gallery, Fox Factory for the Arts, and the Heritage Center. Before that, she enjoyed many years as an assistant at Whirlpool Corporation in Benton Harbor. This is where she found her biggest passion, PechaKucha, and became a city organizer in 2015. She has been recruiting presenters and timing 20-second slides ever since. Please welcome Lana DeFrancesco.
Thanks, Nate. I have to repeat what Sarah said. It is nervous, so okay, bear with me. All right, Maestro Chris, whenever you're ready. Okay, so about a year ago, I found myself using Instagram a lot more. It had a lot less politics than on Facebook and a lot more pretty pictures. And I decided that I was going to dedicate my Instagram account solely to my home decor, home design obsession. There's like nothing I'd rather do than just putter around the house. And so I also tried to deliberately grow my account. Influencers will give tips like be consistent with content, watch your metrics, and post regularly, blah, blah. I have grown my account to 620 people, which is so not influencer status. But what I did find is far more important. I found a real community, positive people who could talk about Sherwin-Williams paint colors all day long. And through all of this, Instagram and the people on Instagram, the friends, I call some of them close friends, I've learned a few things that have helped me in quarantine. Number one, first of all, it's prepared me to be perfectly comfortable at home. I am personally perfectly comfortable at home. There's nothing more exciting than having zero plans for the day. I would rather rearrange artwork on the walls and fluff pillows and pet little cute dogs. That is my perfect day. Number two, my experience taking the Instagram worthy photo has made me Zoom ready. How else will I show off my anthropology wallpaper if I don't have video Zoom to have people come into my home to see it? You see what I'm saying? Okay, number three, talking on my phone for stories has prepared me for the Zoom video phone calls. I'm perfectly comfortable talking into a little phone device. Here I am with three of my very best faces that have ever existed. I hope you're laughing at home because, okay, number four, we help one another. It's pretty jaw-dropping to me just how much information people will share gladly and respond to messages and give help. And building this greenhouse is one of those examples. I took a bunch of old windows and made a greenhouse. I have no green thumb, but I made it anyway. And there was a fellow gardener who gave me tips on how to better structure the bottom so it was nice and sturdy. And there's just tips and tricks like that all over Instagram, especially with the home decor people and the DIYers, you know. So what I learned from building this greenhouse, which by the way, those plants are now dead. I'm not a green thumb, like I said. So what I learned from building the greenhouse, I recently applied to building a little duck house with my daughter. We just did this during quarantine. She designed it. She mapped out the measurements, picked the paint colors, and we did it together. Even some little bougie vinyl tile down there. Okay. Number 5, complete support and cheerleading for one another. On the left is that old bathroom soffit, you know, with the can lights, and demoing that was definitely a lot of sweat and tears. And on Instagram, I told and shared video of the whole process through sweat and tears, people cheering me on. This is the outcome. This is the bathroom after. I went with pendant lights instead of wall sconces. And thank you, Kim. So having a cheerleader to share in your joy of your projects, because it really is a lot of hard work to do these things, at least for me, and it has been so nice. And that goes for design ideas as well. Like I was remodeling around this vintage blue tile. I wanted to keep the tile. So the color scheme I came up with was black and white. It's all I could really kind of figure out to make work. And Instagrammers will never give you bad comments. They'll just maybe be quiet. But so far, it seems like that is a hit. Okay, number 6. Oh, the dogs are barking. Look on the floor here. You see the toilet paper? Yeah, that is correct. So Instagrammers have been honoring the toilet paper long before it was a very big hot commodity. We don't just merely have it, we put it in cute little baskets. And that bathroom, by the way, this is the before. It had old tile. It's a house built in 1960, and I gutted it. I put in new marble tile. I learned how to tile. I learned how to grout, all for the very first time on my own through help of online people. Okay, number 7, sanitation. So it may not be intentional, but our pretty faucets that we want to show off in Instagram photos have to be perfectly buffed and polished for the said photos. So we have been sanitizing and sanitizing and sanitizing, and are experts. Okay, number 8. Okay, current trend right now on Instagram, painting pots with dirt and then like putting the paint over the dirt for your pot, for your plant. Like I haven't done it myself, but I just want to illustrate just how creative these projects have been. This is another Michigan Girls project via Justine. Okay, number 9, probably the most important and relevant right now, to appreciate the ordinary. My friend Little Miss Magnolia talks about this on the daily. Her like tagline and inspiration is ordinary goodness, finding joy in the everyday ordinary. And it has become my mantra. When you hear people talk about this on a daily basis, it really does help me, through all of this. When we've gotten a lot of our exciting things have shut down, and it's just been very helpful to find gratitude in the everyday little things of life. Here's my husband and our little Pookie Bear. Okay, number 10, and lastly but not least, is a quote from another friend, Madison McLean, whose grandmother used to say, "Do your best and caulk the rest." And when I apply that to life right now, because I was surprised to find out how emotional it would be for me, and I enjoy being at home because this is all new and it's so gigantic of a issue that we're dealing with around the world, is that, you know, it's okay, you don't have to be this way or feel this way, so just simply do your best and caulk the rest. And that is my PK.
Yay.
Hey.
Woo! Go, Lana. Try your best and caulk the rest. That's an amazing.
Isn't it great? I love that quote.
Amazing. Wait, philosophy
Brilliant.
of life. Yeah.
Amazing.
Thanks.
Well, let's keep it going here. We've got one more before the beer break. RJ Williams, our hostess with the mostest, is next. And RJ was going to talk to us all about her fingernail polish collection, which I was really excited about, but then she came up with like a really important subject. So she's going to talk about that instead, which I'm also excited about. But woo. The title of her presentation is From Closure to COVID and its Impact on the 49022. RJ Williams is a proud native of Benton Harbor, Michigan. She is currently working for the Boys and Girls Club of Benton Harbor Teen Center as their academic success coach. Outside of assisting youth, RJ finds time to travel around the country, documenting stories of grief in the Black community for the Final 48 project. This BK host is an avid nail polish collector, crip walk and dance queen, and retired tambourine ministry member. We've got like 4 more PechaKuchas I want to hear in the future. Please welcome RJ Williams.
Thank you. When I say my heart is beating so fast. Whew. Okay.
Got this.
You're right. And Chris, let's get this party started. Ben Harbor, Michigan, coined a city on the move and land of opportunity during the Jim Crow era. My paternal and maternal grandparents made their way to the Midwest from the South. These days, it's known as home of the Whirlpool headquarters and the Mighty Tigers basketball team of Ben Harbor High. Both of my parents graduated from dear old Ben Harbor High School that was built in 1921 and were proud of the class of 1968. During their time in high school, they experienced the news of the assassinations of Malcolm X and Martin Luther King Jr., but they would tell you that one of their highs was winning a state championship in basketball. Quite naturally, I was groomed and excited to become a Tiger. I was able to witness a brother that played years of varsity basketball and a sister that was a part of the Tiger marching band. I couldn't wait until it was my time to experience walking through the doors of 870 Colfax Avenue and all the adventures that it would entail. Now, high school has its highs and lows. I wanted to make the most of it. Various social groups, school dances, hosted a talent show, and attended my junior and senior prom. The one event that my friends discuss from time to time is where we were when 9/11 occurred, an event that changed this country's security system and our lives as seniors forever. Our senior breakfast was a time for all of us in the class of 2002 to commemorate our 4 years together and to look back on what we had accomplished. My biggest reward that day was being crowned the class clown, a title my mother was not very proud of, but more importantly, it was a time to note that this was the last time many of us were going to be in the same room together. At my graduation party, many of the adults advised me on leaving and never coming back. I thought this was odd because a lot of the people that were telling me this were residents of the city. I stayed away for a little over 10 years after graduation because the message was, if you move back, you were a failure. Before I was laid off from a job in 2015 in Dallas, it was already set in my mind that I wanted to move back home and tell the stories of the people in my community. I didn't have a job to come home to, but my friend of over 25 years told me to come and work for him at the Boys and Girls Club Teen Center. So that's what I did in the fall of 2016, right across the street from my former high school. I had never worked with teens. There was no blueprint. The only advice I was given was that you know what it takes to get through high school and life after. All you have to do is guide them. Sounds easy, but it wasn't. The reward was watching my first set of seniors march down the ramp, headed to the field to reappear as alumni in June of 2017. My first summer with the teens was full of college tours in Michigan, Indiana, and Illinois. I was able to take kids to places that they've never experienced before, many of them being freshmen that would be sophomores in the fall. I wanted them to see early on what they needed to do in high school to be prepared for heading into their senior year and most college requirements. Some would say we were gaining momentum. In 2018, the boys basketball team won a state championship in over 50 years, but that soon changed by the end of 2019 school year. The governor of Michigan decided because of financial woes and academic structure that she would be closing the high school. The community showed up in droves to prepare a plan to prevent that. Being an area alum, I wanted to implement a unique program to give some of our kids motivation. I relied on the help of other area school alums to tell their stories of why they chose to attend historically Black colleges, and myself being a product of one. It was very important for the kids to know what it was like firsthand to be surrounded by academic excellence from people that look like them from the same community. Aside from academics in Tiger Country, the lens was solely on the boys basketball team. This will be the final year watching the Scooby Show that was led by one of the best high school basketball players in the Midwest and probably even the country. The city was in support of this team, selling out basketball games near and far, preparing for another championship. Y'all know in March of 2020, all of our help. Word spread of pausing the NBA season, canceling March Madness, and ending the high school basketball season. and any activities that cause a large gathering. The entire nation and world will go into isolation, and here we are in the middle of a global pandemic known as COVID-19. Social distancing is now a part of our shopping experience. Masks are a part of our wardrobe, and online shopping is taking all of our coins. For us working with Club Kids in April, it was preparing for a state competition for the Youth of the Year virtually, the highest honor bestowed to a Boys and Girls Club member. And this year we brought home another state winner. The lens was no longer on the school closing of Ben Harbor High during this time. The emphasis on stay home and stay safe, and for the first time in a long time, all the area teens, even those that attended schools outside the district, were experiencing the same thing. There would be no prom for any area high school, and possibility of a graduation was bleak. At this moment, the community would stand as one. The way that we do things would have to change, including picking up Jocelyn's packages that would include their cap and gown and other items to commemorate their senior year. It was great to see the faces of the students I've been blessed enough to interact with since their freshman year. I'll admit, I was a little emotional, thinking this could possibly be the last time seeing most of them. There was a bright side. My entire news feed was painted orange and black on that Wednesday, but in true Ben Harbor form, we find ways to celebrate even during a crisis. You can drive around the community and see celebrations in the forms of banners on doors, yard signs, and decorated cars, celebrating all area and district high school seniors, and not just Benton Harbor High. As we continue to move forward, I can only wonder what's next. As some parts of the country have opened their economy and others extending the stay-at-home order, I can only think about our lives will never be the same. We will never see a year like this again, and this time with our families is a time to reflect and examine our plans for the future. I constantly think about a conversation with Ashanti. She asked me, "Why did you move back, Miss RJ?" She stunned me with that question, but more and more I found the answer to my original question for moving back to Ben Harbor to be true. To be able to cultivate a generation for greatness and tell the stories of my community, similar to the ones that I've shared with you today. To the class of 2020 that are the seeds of my classmates, single parents, the first in their family to graduate or the last, the ones that endured racial injustice, the only child, the valedictorians, and everyone in between. You are loved, you are celebrated, and there will never be another class like yours. You will look back on this time and think to yourselves, we are the class that literally made the world stop.
Mm.
Yeah.
I need a beer break.
RJ, that was amazing. Thank you for bringing us home at the end of the first half here. And I'm so glad you moved back to the area and are a part of this team. We love having you. And I know all those kids are so lucky to have you in their lives as well.
I enjoy it. Thank you so very much.
Yeah. Well, we are getting ready for a beer break, but I've got a few small announcements. If you're able to chip in a little bit at our Eventbrite, that link is going to be in the comment section on YouTube. And I do importantly want to acknowledge that in the Benton Harbor St. Joseph community, we lost somebody really amazing today. So during the beer break, let's drink one for Jerry Catania. He was an amazing artist, educator, and friend to a lot of people here. So we're all thinking about his family at this time. All right, so please enjoy your 5 minutes. Here's one mirror cartwheel to send you out to your break. Usually we have a 15-minute beer break, but I think you guys can handle yourselves in 5 today, okay? So we'll see you back in a few. Oh, does the music have to stop?
Unfortunately, yes.
That was great. Thanks for the dance party. I hope everybody had a good 5 minutes. And we've got there's a whole second half coming your way. We've got 4 more presenters. So let's get it going. Is there anything I have to tell people? Let's see. No. Here's a front handspring for you all at Whiteman, one of our amazing partners in this game. And next up, we've got, let's see, can we move on to the next slide here? It's fun to watch this. Kelly McElroy is our next presenter. And the title of Kelly's presentation is Sustainability Plus Me Equals Sustainability. Kelly McElroy is a civil engineer at Cook Nuclear Plant, as well as a podcaster. Last year, she started a podcast called Sustainability that focuses on sustainability and the environment. Her mission is to learn what others are doing to better the environment and how she can make small changes in her daily life to do so as well. Please welcome Kelly McElroy.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's a bit different doing this rather than podcasting. Usually you don't have to see my face, but here we go. Let's kick it off. All right, nature and the great outdoors have always been super important to me. It has been extremely important, especially during this pandemic, to get outside. Growing up, you could find me outside almost every day. You could find me swimming the Great Lakes, skiing up north, hiking the dunes, and of course, climbing all trees. Growing up, I knew I wanted to do something that had to do with the environment and nature, so I decided to go to Michigan State University. Go green!
Go white!
I ended up graduating there with a dual degree in civil and environmental engineering. Now, fast forward a few years, and I became pretty overwhelmed with the doom and gloom in the news surrounding the environment. I didn't understand why people were politicizing environmental issues. Even though life was overall good for me, I was really bumming out about this, and I wanted to know if and how I could make a difference. So I decided to start a podcast called Sustainability. It highlights cool things that companies, groups, and individuals are doing related to sustainability and the environment. I figured this was a great way to learn what others were doing while teaching an audience. In each episode, I also try to provide a tip that my listeners can try implementing in their own lives. So I've got 2 podcasts here that I really liked and formatted my podcast around. I love that Armchair Expert has a way of bringing out the human element of various celebrities. And I love that how I built this shows what people have gone through to really build what they're passionate about. Now, after Googling how to start a podcast and giving myself countless pep talks about speaking to people I don't know, after all, I'm an engineer, I dove into this project of mine, and I've got to tell you, I learned a lot. So that's what I want to talk to you guys about today, some of my learnings. The first major takeaway is this concept called the triple bottom line: people, planet, and prosperity. Going into this, I focused completely on the planet side, but what I soon learned is that you really have to lift people up to truly have a prosperous planet. I also learned about native plants and pollinators. Native plants are important because they slow stormwater, prevent erosion, and provide food and cover for wildlife and pollinators. Let's be real, without pollinators, there's no us. More than 150 food crops in the US alone depend on pollinators. Cute little critters. Now, speaking of food, I spoke to one of my good friends about being vegan. She explained there's many benefits to being vegan. The UN says that meat and dairy make up 14.5% of man-made greenhouse gas emissions. I'm personally not ready to be vegan, but I have started doing meatless Mondays to cut down a little bit. These are some reusable silicone bags that I found on my journey, and I really love them because they're safe for use in the dishwasher, freezer, and microwave. I used to go through so many plastic Ziploc bags over the years, so I'm super happy I found these. Continuing on my journey with food, This is a picture of Planted Detroit, which is an indoor hydroponic vertical farm. They grow various herbs and microgreens. I found it fascinating that they're literally in an old building in Detroit. They're obviously constricted by space, but this method requires less resources than your typical farm. So I've talked a lot about food so far, so a great way to dispose of it is to compost it. Before learning about composting, I was afraid of the potential for smell and bugs. However, as long as you have the right mixture of green and brown material, you can totally avoid that. You will also reduce methane production in a landfill, which is great because that's a greenhouse gas. The Detroit Zoo has a different way of composting. They send food and yard scraps as well as the poo from their herbivores to their anaerobic digester. This system captures the methane and uses it to create electricity for their on-site vet, hence poo power. They then take the leftover compost and use it around their property. Now, you can't talk about poo without talking about toilet paper, which has been a real hot commodity lately. Unfortunately, there are many toilet paper companies that use virgin paper pulp to make their product, which requires cutting down old trees. That's why I switched to using recycled paper toilet paper. And Pete loves it. Clean energy is very important to me since I'm an engineer at a nuclear power plant. I really wanted to cover nuclear power because it's a carbon-free energy source that runs 24 hours a day. And I also wanted to hopefully answer a few of the questions from various people about this technology. Speaking of clean energy, I actually took my podcast on the road to Iceland last year with a geothermal power plant. Iceland uses 100% renewable electricity and 30% of that is geothermal. Also, 90% of their heating comes from geothermal. This plant in particular not only produces electricity, but it provides hot water for Reykjavik, their capital. Moving on to fashion, who knew that the fashion industry has a larger carbon impact than the airline industry? My sister-in-law here is super into thrifting and repurposing old clothes. She encourages people to make your clothes last, repurpose them, and share them with friends. While learning about the fashion industry, I stumbled upon these wool dryer balls. Honestly, I'd never heard of using wool dryer balls instead of dryer sheets, but they are amazing. They dry my clothes faster, so I'm saving time, electricity, and money. Plus, I'm not creating waste from the dryer sheets. I couldn't end my presentation without mentioning one of my first episodes with the Livery, a Benton Harbor brewery. One of my favorite things that I learned about them was that they send their spent grain to a local farmer and use it for cow feed. They also use some of it in their pizza dough. This is such a creative idea for reuse and minimizing waste. Plus, the beer and pizza is amazing. Check them out. Overall, I've learned so much from starting my podcast, Sustainability, and I'm so glad I did. My biggest takeaways are positivity spreads positivity, and one person can make a difference. I mean, look at everyone here. The ripple effect is real. I encourage you all to do something that makes you happy and makes this world a better place. Thank you.
Hey, way to go, Kelly.
Nice.
I learned a lot, but I can't get over the go green, go white situation.
Oh yeah, gotta get
How
that
long
in.
was that part of the plan from the beginning? When did you figure that out?
Oh yeah, that was my husband. We met at Michigan State, had to go green, go white.
So, wow, so great. I don't care whatever about schools and sports, but so I'm sure there's a whole big thing on the internet about this right now, but I found that delightful. And thanks for sharing your story. I'll have to check out your podcast.
For sure.
It was in the chat section of our Zoom. So yeah, it's a thing.
Oh, great.
That was totally awesome. I just dropped out to go and speak at Knoxville just to launch their online PechaKucha. So I've just dived back and I just heard the end of that. And positivity creates positivity or generates positive. That's the whole thing with PechaKucha around the world. And especially in this moment, we're trying to find positive stories that inspire the world. So I'll look forward to hearing the recording of that presentation. I'm sorry I missed the beginning. Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Great.
All right. Yeah, thanks, Kelly. Way to be on brand. And let's move on to our next presenter, Emily McKenna. I have the distinct pleasure and honor of working with Emily I call her McKenna, working with McKenna at the Krasl Art Center. The title of her presentation is What We Can Learn from Lord of the Rings. Here we go. Emily McKenna hails from the Shire in the land of Middle Earth. McKenna is known for her hairy feet and a keen interest in the brewing of ale and pipe tobacco, and lives in a hole in the ground. You may also know her as the other Sloth Girl. But in all seriousness, McKenna is a Michigan native and currently holds the position of School and Community Programs Coordinator at the Classical Arts Center. She is an educator and a visual artist, but mostly McKenna just likes to laugh and nerd out over all things fantastical. Please welcome Emily McKenna.
Thank you. Thank you, Nathan. Appreciate you reading that lovely introduction. All of it was 100% accurate. Now, real quick, I'm gonna get my nice cloak on, my cape, real quick, just to really set the mood for you all. If you haven't seen The Lord of the Rings, you're probably wondering why, but regardless, I think I look pretty good. So, without any further ado, let's start this. I'm going to attempt to tell you about what I think is one of the greatest stories of the 20th and 21st century, The Lord of the Rings. Not just because it's an incredible story of friendship, or because of the trilogy of movies and its costuming, CGI, set design, or because it has one of the best battles of all history that took 4 months to shoot, 3 of those months being at night. I'm telling you about this story because what I think everyone needs right now is a hero's journey. While it varies, the hero's journey always follows roughly the same pattern. It's really about bravery, fear, struggle, and ultimately triumph. So if you know the story, bear with me. I'm trying my best. And I'm also trying my best to avoid spoilers. So I hope I inspire you to watch or read them. And just for the record, I am basing this off the movies. Unfortunately, there will be no Tom Bombadil. And just to show that I have some form of nerdy authority on this topic, myself and a group of friends gather every year to embark on a Lord of the Rings marathon, strictly watching extended editions, costume semi-mandatory, and the themed food all involved. So I clearly know what I'm talking about. There are real heroes working across the world right now to put everything back in order for us. But so many of us are facing our own challenges: boredom, fear, loneliness. We aren't facing dragons or sorcerers or evil tyrants. The heroes in these stories are, but just like us, they're flawed. Sometimes they'll be brave and resilient. Other times they won't, and that's okay. There are always lessons along the way. So first, to set the stage, I'm going to share with you my favorite quote. "I wish the ring had never come to me. I wish none of this had happened," said Frodo. Gandalf responded, so do all who live to see such times, but that is not for them to decide. All we have to decide is what to do with the time that is given us. So here's my elevator pitch of an 11.5-hour-long trilogy. 19 rings were forged and given to the leaders of Middle-earth, but all of them were deceived, for another, more powerful master ring was made by the Dark Lord Sauron. And into this ring he poured all of his cruelty, malice, and his will to dominate all life. This is the one ring to rule them all. One by one, the free lands of Middle-earth fell to the power of the ring, but some resisted, and war broke out among the free people of Middle-earth against those who were under the power and darkness of Sauron and the ring. Sauron's form was killed, his physical form, and the ring went into the hands of men who quickly perished under its power and the greed it brought with it. It then came to the creature Gollum, who took it deep into the tunnels of the Misty Mountains, and there it consumed him for 500 years, poisoning his mind, and in the gloom of Gollum's cave, the ring waited. And then the most unlikely creature picked it up on an unexpected journey, a hobbit, Bilbo Baggins of the Shire. To know that story more, watch or read The Hobbit. Bilbo lives with this ring for decades. Until his 111th birthday, he decided to disappear and leave the ring with his nephew Frodo. Frodo is then tasked with taking the ring to the only place it can be destroyed, the fires of Mount Doom. An unlikely fellowship joins Frodo and sets out across an increasingly dangerous path to destroy the ring and prevent a war that would shroud their world in darkness. They are known as the Fellowship of the Ring and are really all heroes in their own right. They are Aragorn, a ranger of the north, Gandalf, one of the great wizards, Legolas, an elven prince who is masterful with a bow, Boromir, a valiant warrior of Gondor, Gimli, a well-respected dwarf warrior, and then there's 4 measly hobbits. And that's one of the things that is so beautiful about this story. Everyone underestimates those hobbits. They are known for living a life of ease and peace in the Shire, being barefoot, eating, drinking ale, smoking pipeweed, and farming. But the hobbits end up being so brave and valuable to the Fellowship and integral to the completion of the story. But more on that in a moment. Real quick, I want to share with you the themes that are present in The Lord of the Rings. The ultimate battle between good and evil, resisting the temptation of power, the dangers of industrialism, overcoming isolationism,
the unbreakable bond of friendship, and looking out for others. Don't those sound relatable right now? But looking out for others is really the one that I think we should focus on. So let's talk about one of those measly hobbits that everyone underestimates, Samwise Gamgee. He is Frodo's friend and gardener. He's not the main character. Technically, Frodo is, but he is the heartbeat of these movies. So really, it's all about Sam. Destroying the ring is Frodo's quest, his burden. But how do you think Frodo managed? He wouldn't have without Sam. So after Bilbo disappears at his birthday party, Sam eavesdrops on Frodo and Gandalf's conversation about the powerful object that Frodo is now the owner of, the ring. When Frodo is then tasked with taking the ring to be destroyed, Sam's all in. He knows it's going to be long and dangerous, but he's willing to do it. Hobbits don't travel. Neither Frodo nor Sam have ever left the Shire, but they are now embarking on a several-month-long journey to a dangerous place. They have 0 fighting abilities. They are the smallest race of people in Middle-earth, and they have no shoes. Seriously, they don't wear them, but they choose to do it anyway. It's kind of idiotically brave. Frodo and Sam walk 1,350 miles, which is roughly 440 hours of walking, or like walking from LA to Austin, Texas, which took them about 6 months, not including the return journey. Imagine walking that far for your best friend, but they have to do it. They're not as tempted by the power of the ring. Any of the other members of the Fellowship would have immediately been corrupted. So here's how Sam looks out for Frodo while on this long journey. He makes sure Frodo is eating enough, sleeping enough, and ultimately gives up his own share of water to make sure Frodo is hydrated. He is ever optimistic, always trying to find the bright side to keep morale high. He never turns away, no matter how sick Frodo gets from carrying the ring. Sam stays by his side. No matter how many times Frodo asks him not to follow, Sam sticks with him. He is able to be an excellent minimalist chef. He even dives after his little package of seasoning and catches it before it falls down a massive cliff because he wanted to bring a little bit of taste of home to their taste buds. And he literally carries Frodo to the finish line. That's how heavy the ring was to Frodo. He could hardly walk. So ultimately, I'm trying to pose this question to you. How can we be more like Samwise Gamgee? He's not necessarily considered a hero, but he's a hero in his own right. He is unrelenting in his friendship. He makes sure that his friends and neighbors are okay, and part of that is being well-fed and well-hydrated. And of course, he is ever optimistic, believing that together we can get through it. So maybe that's the moral of the story, but I am also shamelessly trying to get you to watch these incredible films or read the books if you haven't. I am. And I am so jealous that you will get to experience them for the first time. But there's also a sub-moral here. Be unapologetically nerdy about the things you love. Thank you.
Yeah.
Good job, Emily.
Great message.
Awesome.
Wow, awesome.
Thank you, guys.
That was funny because when we had our event with Manchester and the UK, somebody made a very similar presentation about Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and how those movies and films and books had got her through the COVID moment. So thank you so much. It's brilliant.
Thanks, Mark. I watched her present on Buffy and was very inspired and thought, I know a story that might relate even better.
Oh, wow. That's so funny. I've gone goosebumpy again. It's amazing. Thank you. That's amazing.
Thank you.
What fantastic. Awesome how this is working. Thank you so much.
Yeah, great job, Emily. There was a wonderful YouTube comment about how amazing your hardcore condensed recapping was. And they want to see you give another go of it at Gone with the Wind.
Challenge accepted. Thank you.
We've always said that it's amazing when you ask people to make a presentation, 20 slides, 20 seconds. I say, oh, it's impossible. I can't. There's no time. I can't do anything. But you can actually do an amazing précis about things. And I think that's why it's been adopted in schools and universities so much. Yeah, because it's a really great little framework to hang your thoughts and ideas on, and make awesome presentations look like that. Fantastic.
Thank you. Clearly, I'm passionate about it, so it was really hard to remove elements of the plot that I think are really crucial.
No, that was perfect. I'm not a fan of Lord of the Rings. That was the perfect amount to keep me interested and excited, enthusiastic about it. So that's a real accomplishment. Our next presenter, Chris Gregory, is going to take us on another journey.
Yeah, I am.
That's a good segue, right?
Can you
Chris
hear me?
Gregory, we're so happy to have you back, Chris. You were a part of the PechaKucha team in St. Joe Benton Harbor a couple of years back before you moved to New York. And now this technology and this weird situation actually kind of brought us back together, which is amazing. But Chris's presentation is called A Walk in the Woods. And Chris is an industrial designer at PepsiCo's Global Design and Innovation Studio in New York City. Before this, he spent 9 years at Whirlpool and helped organize the St. Joseph Benton Harbor chapter at PechaKucha Night. Chris is fascinated with design, creativity, and the practice of observing the world with a curious eye. When not designing products, Chris likes to study the urban landscape. In 2017, he led a creative placemaking audit for the Krasl Art Center in St. Joseph and helped raise $80,000 for a new outdoor art space. Chris is proud to contribute to the special 2020 edition of PechaKucha Night to inspire the world. Please welcome Chris Gregory.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I'm also running all the slides this evening, so that is another reason why I'm just making sure everything's good. All right, I'll get started. So there are still hidden pockets of old New York if you really know where to look. And tonight I want to take you through one of those places, and it's called Inwood Hill Park. And I'm really fortunate to live only 5 minutes away from this park, and it's up here at the northern tip of Manhattan. Having a place like this to explore over the last few months of New York on pause has really been a great escape for me and a lot of people in the community as well. I think that I need to not have my notes up. Okay, so sorry guys. So the just continuing on here, the Lenape people called the island of Manhattan Mannahatta, which was for the island of many hills, which can also mean a place for gathering wood to make bows. And I think of these descriptions very much that they fit the park very well. There's ridges, there's caves, and there's valleys. The park is sort of this mystical choose your own adventure retreat. These paths, they were all laid down in the 1930s by WPA workers. And I like to think about how they spent the hours there laying down the stone and how they came to see the park as a place of wonder, just like how Ansel Adams saw the national parks. And speaking of Ansel Adams, he obviously cared very much for those parks in his photographs. And he said something really nice. He said, "You must have certain areas of the world that are left in as close to primal condition as possible. You must have quietness and solitude." And I really enjoy this patch of eastern white pines because you can hear the wind wisping through the needles. Deeper in the woods on the western edge of the park, there's this elevated vista, and it's a clearing near the trees. And this is the highest point in the park that looks over the Hudson River. And some days the Hudson is very smooth and calm, and on other days it churns as the tide changes directions. Further beyond, you can see the Palisades that look over from New Jersey. Interestingly, behind this clearing, there's actually a site that used to be a 200-room orphanage for wayward girls run by the Sisters of St. Mary. And I'm really fascinated by this because you have this really scary looking building that was intended to be a safe haven for children, and it didn't last. I mean, it ended up being demolished over time, and the park returned to its natural state. And again, it really fascinates me, and I try and imagine these things as I walk through the park. We're going to descend now back down along the schist ridge. These are amazing rock walls that were left behind by glaciers as they melted, and they formed the valleys of the preserve. If you really stop and you listen, it's like a blanket of quietness because the rock actually buffers virtually all of the city noise. It's really magical. Further along during the valley, in our walk, there is the remain of these Native American rock shelters. And they have been located near the remains of old campfires. And it's thought that these belong to the Lenape Delawares who roamed the area once, and they relied on the Hudson and the Harlem River for their food sources. And today, even still, the forest is a place for people to commune with nature. And I don't really know who has claimed this collection of rock circles and this lean-to, but it is common during my walks to see people sitting here reading a book on the log. It's sort of like a public library in nature. As the trail turns here, it takes us under the Henry Hudson Bridge, which connects Manhattan and the Bronx. So just ahead is this creek called Spuyten Duyvil Creek, and it links the Harlem River with the Hudson River. And this creek is very it churns a lot and it gurgles a lot, and that's why it's also known as the Spouting Devil. The creek eventually passes under a railroad bridge and it meets the Hudson River here on Manhattan's northern tip. If you look out from this vantage point, it's very easy to envision what I think Washington must have seen as his ship sailed down the river. And largely this view has remained the same for that long. And it's really amazing to see this only 10 minutes away from my house. Every once in a while, an apartment tower will occasionally pop into your view along the ridge up here. And I think they're really kind of these suggestions of the city, this quiet reminder that millions of people are very nearby, even if the trails around us are very empty at the moment. It's just a reminder of how well hidden and well kept a secret this is. And occasionally you will find the perfect contrast of this nature and of civilization. The ornamental motif that's cast into these iron lampposts here, I think, are interesting because they mimic these vines that nature has sent out over the spring season. The park is definitely not a place I would want to walk at night, and these lamps haven't worked in nearly 60 years, but I think that's better somehow because I think it preserves the darkness and the natural environment. And in the 1930s, after the Depression, after a lot of people were out of a job, men were hired to make the park better and do improvements. And what they did is they turned the stone rubble here into stairways. And these stairs will take any walker or hiker who's brave enough down through the tree canopies and along the rocky ridge. And if we stop for a moment, we can see this expansive lawn here known as the Gaelic Field. And as the sun sets to the west, the rays of light are going to filter through the trees and the shadows of the ridge spreads over the lawn. We've now landed virtually at sea level, and this is the last saltwater marsh in Manhattan. This salty mixture creates this environment that is really unique in the city, and it's a place that even ocean seals have been spotted during high tide, which has been a great feature for the locals. It's ended up on the New York Park's Twitter page. So what is this? This is near the end of our walk. This is really interesting because under this tulip tree, or one just like it, legend has it that the Lenape people sold the entire island of Manhattan to Peter Minuit for one shipment of goods. So this tree that's long gone now has been replaced by the Shoracopic rock, and that is also, it also means the sitting down place. So I've come to this really interesting and surprising realization on my walk here over the last few months that there's this symmetry between my previous life near Lake Michigan and my new life here. And I could see that through the similarities between the pedestrian bridge that carries us over the railroad tracks and leads us up over the forest into the shoreline of the river and the lake. And noticing here from an aerial view that the rivers, even the way that they draw the city lines and the access of the streets and the railroad swing bridges, whether I think you're in this lakeside town or you're in an urban metropolis, the same goes for all people. And that is that we all need places of original nature, and we need the time to explore and to appreciate them. And so I'm going to leave us with a final thought from the words of Ansel Adams, who said that the intimate details and qualities of our immediate environment can be revealed and appreciated. Touch the living rock, scan the great vistas, and feel the cool dusk. Such is the heritage of all people. Thank you.
Ooh.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Really beautiful, amazing.
Thanks.
Yeah. Thanks for
Beautiful.
calming us down
Yeah.
after we were all riled up. I feel good.
No, I really have grown to enjoy this park, and I've lived here almost 2 years, and my partner James and we enjoy walking along the sidewalk into the park and around, and sometimes I go on a walk by myself here too, and it's just a nice place to think and to meditate, and it's something I think we all need right now. So I hope everyone has a place that they can do this.
Absolutely. Yeah. And what was the name again of the park? I think some people on YouTube were asking about that.
Yeah, it's Inwood Hill Park.
Okay. Thanks. Well, thanks for that presentation, and thanks again for doing double duty with the tech side of things tonight too.
Yeah, awesome job.
All right, Bizzo, you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Matthew Bizzo he's got a lot to live up to. He's our penultimate presentation tonight. And the title of his presentation is Time Well Spent. I work with Matthew at the Krasl Arts Center, which is a delight. Matthew Bizzo is the marketing and events manager for Krasl Arts Center in St. Joseph, Michigan. He loves combining his love for the arts and for bringing people together to his role as a PK organizer. When Bizzo isn't advocating for the arts, he can be found at one of Michigan's beautiful parks with his husband and their Samoyed ghost, all most likely enjoying ice cream. Please welcome Matthew Bizzo.
Thank you so much, Nathan. And no pressure with you're going last bit. I want to just share a moment before I get started, guys. I had that beautiful background Chris had made, and some of you may have experienced some tech difficulties. And I want to just show you this very real moment. I am sitting on my floor in my living room. Whoop, that rock's the wrong way. Ghost is sitting right behind me. I'm right next to my computer to make sure you have a good connection. This is very real PechaKucha organizing, just to make sure that we can get out and connect with you guys. And I'm so excited to be sharing everyone's stories with you and my own. Now, for everyone who is wondering what the shape is on my shirt, if we have any international listeners, this is Michigan's Upper Peninsula. Check it out on Google Maps. It's one of the best parts of Michigan. All right, Chris, let's get started. So I started working at Krasl Arts Center just over a year ago, and only recently joined this fantastic team of PK organizers who you've heard from tonight. I'm very much in love with the work I do, and I'm so lucky to have landed where I am and be able to spend my time with an amazing group of people. But for a long time, I didn't ever think I'd get this kind of happiness at work. As I put together my presentation for tonight, entering our 8th week when I made this, working from home, and without seeing this vibrant community I've grown to treasure, I can't help but reflect on my own journey here and the decisions that brought me here. As I wrote this presentation, I kept thinking about how I spent my time and how those decisions prepared me to speak with all of you now. Flashback to 2010, my freshman year of college. I was nominated to lead my university's chapter of the Professional Association for Design. Admittedly, the first year was pretty rough. My organizational skills were minimal. I was flighty and an overeager freshman design student. It was obvious I had not developed the design skills to impress the upperclassmen who made up the group. But I learned a lot from this period of my life. We started the year with 3 members and ended with 7. And those 7 individuals have transformed my experience at Northern Michigan University and even now. We started having bowling nights together and focused on just having fun. In the second year, the group grew to 30 members, who you see now. We brought designers together and built a community of friends and mentors. Leading the group provided me with the opportunities to not only extend my resume, but also dramatically shape my worldview. I was fortunate to intern with our local Arts and Culture Center, work for the planning board of the local Blues Festival, co-curate NMU's permanent collection at the campus museum, and host multiple visiting artist workshops.
Hey, Matt, stop for a second. I'm sorry. We're having a technical difficulty, so I'm going to stop the presentation, I'm going to restart PowerPoint. We have some pixelation going on. Hold on.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
That's fine. We've got time. We're going to
You're
give you
doing
your
great, though.
we're going to give you your rightful place.
Thank you. Thank you. Just so y'all know while he's picking that up. So if you saw Ghost get up, I have my little mouse sitting right here on the floor. And the whole time I'm just scrolling and he's licking my hand. He's ringing the bell to go outside right now. This is very real PK writing.
That's disgusting.
He's clean. His mouth is clean. Don't worry. I'll wash my hands. And you all should too, just for good measure, right?
Nate, if you have a dog, you'll know that you'll let your dog lick your hands. Right?
Even
Oh,
if you
absolutely.
don't have a dog,
Yeah.
you have to let a beautiful angel like that lick your hand.
You know, and I have to say his favorite day is haircut day, because he just will lick my head like crazy. It's how I
Stop
wake up
it.
most days.
This
Too much.
This stops
Too much.
now.
Nope. I'm out.
What's the deal within your bio? It says that you and Jake and Ghost all eat ice cream together. Is that
Oh,
true?
yeah. So we go to the Warren Dunes State Park pretty often, which is a great state park in Michigan. And there's an ice cream place, Beach Bucket, right across from it. We'll take Ghost there, go walking on the trails. And of course, we have to get ice cream afterwards because it's hot in Michigan summers.
I understand why people would eat ice cream. Tell me why the dog is eating ice cream.
He just gets a little bit, but
Okay.
I mean, it's
All right.
hard to tell
We're-
him no.
We're
Are
back.
we ready, Chris?
We're back. You're gonna from this slide.
Okay.
Oh, boop, boop, boop. Getting me in my notes. 1 second, guys. Let me just find my spot in here. He was licking my hand, so of course I had to scroll. All right, I am ready to start. As I was in the midst, I'm sorry, Chris, could you go back a couple more slides? There's some parts in there that are not going to make sense if we start right there. There you go.
You're just gonna, there's some pictures that are pixelated, so we'll go through. We'll make it. Go ahead.
Okay, great. It was obvious I had not developed the design skills to impress the upperclassmen who made up the group. There we go. But I learned a lot from this period of my life. We started the year with just 3 members in our organization and it ended with 7. And those 7 individuals transformed my experience at Northern Michigan University. We started having bowling and dinner nights together and focused on just having some fun. In the second year, we grew to 30 members. We brought designers together and built a community of friends and mentors. Leading the group provided me with opportunities to not only expand my resume, but also dramatically shape my worldview. I was fortunate to intern with our local Arts and Culture Center, work with the planning board for the local blues festival, and co-curate the university's permanent collection at the campus museum. And we also were able to host multiple visiting artist workshops, both in person and virtually. As I was in the midst of all of this volunteer work, a professor gave me this piece of advice. Never do anything for free. Always make sure that you'll be paid for your work. Now, this resonated with me, even as I was doing this free work with the student groups and with these other organizations. And it's really good advice. You should absolutely be recognized for the work you put into the world. And of course you have to make a living. However, I wound up taking this advice quite literally and lost myself in pursuit of a bigger paycheck. After my time at NMU, studying public relations and graphic design, I bounced around jobs in attempts to quickly pay off my student loans. I put long hours in several career paths in Detroit, including selling cable packages door to door, and stressed myself out pursuing what I thought would be rewarding careers, even if it meant turning down opportunities that excited me, but couldn't pay what I envisioned. We're actually really close to my original presentation, so we're just gonna pause here until this image switch is over, because then we'll be on track and it will make a lot more sense. All right. I wound up being pretty miserable chasing this idea, despite how happy I may have appeared on social media. I was lost and never actually achieved any sort of financial success. I binged my feelings away while I worked a job I thought was a ticket out of debt. In 4 months, I made a grand total of $2,000. Unable to make rent and drowning in credit card debt, I moved back home to my parents' basement just before Christmas 2014. I felt so defeated. I had lost all the joy I cultivated in college. I stopped creating artwork. After moving around and constantly working, I had lost touch with nearly all of my friends. I lost myself. But it was at this lowest point that I was able to rediscover myself. After some ups and downs, I landed a job as a graphic designer for a sign shop. I was designing again. I moved out of my parents' basement, paid off credit cards, made some new friends, and I got married. Though life was looking up, it really still felt like something was missing. I worked at a small shop with 5 people, and if you can't tell, I'm a textbook extrovert. I realized I was craving something more. And it was at this moment that I stumbled upon the Krasl Art Center. I applied for the position of marketing manager, really on a whim, and I was pleasantly surprised to be called for the interview. When I met the dynamic crew running the center, I was reminded of my past design group. They were creative, friendly, passionate, charismatic, and as talkative as me. I was enamored by the possibilities. But I didn't get the job. And later, when I was offered a position in the education department, I actually had to turn it down. Thankfully, a year later, the director called me and offered me the opportunity to decorate and help coordinate the kickoff party for one of the largest events in town, the Krasl Art Fair on the Bluff block party. My husband was living in Boston as part of his MFA program, meaning I had time to give with nothing else to do. I jumped at the chance to volunteer my time for these wonderful people. The event was a blast, and it allowed me to meet with other passionate people who loved the arts, many of whom you've heard from tonight. The stories from volunteers who supported the art fair since its beginning, nearly 60 years ago, moved me. It was magical to hear how supporting KAC with their time led to a sense of fulfillment that I was foreign to. Shortly after the art fair, the stars aligned and I was offered my current position. My job is to spread Krasl's mission to inspire meaningful change and strengthen community through the visual arts. And I have the honor of working with hundreds of volunteers a year on events and the arts. I'm able to channel all of my passions into a career that excites me more than that young kid could have ever hoped for in college. My time as a volunteer in college and at KAC was well spent. It led me to people who challenged me and pushed me to be the best version of myself. If you ever find yourself lost like I was, I encourage you to make a change and surround yourself with great people. As I reflect on my experiences, I can't help but remember that college advice. Always make sure you will be paid for your work. I have been paid in joy, laughter, friendships, and stories that remind me of what makes life more worthwhile. In the past few years, I have discovered that being generous with my time has led to opportunities far greater than a paycheck, even as I settle into this new career. So, as we're sitting at home, I want to leave everyone with this. If you find yourself with some extra time and you are looking for that change, how are you going to spend your time? Thank you all. This has been really fun.
Did it.
Yeah.
Awesome
Awesome.
job.
Well done.
Great job, Bizzo.
Thank you.
Way to bring
Good
it
job.
home. Well, thank you to all presenters today. This was really amazing. You guys were incredible. Mark, I'll let you speak since you are the godfather.
No, thank you all so much. It's been really amazing. Presentations, you really knocked it out of the park, you know, and it's that sort of roller coaster, or, you know, we always say PechaKucha's like a box of chocolates. You never quite know what you're going to get, and that we certainly all the emotions were hit tonight, and everybody was, you know, so personal in their own way. And I think one of the key things with PechaKucha is, you know, we're you know, there are lots of there are lots of presentation formats out there that have developed over the years, and we're not top down. We're very much bottom up, and we want everybody to present. We think everybody it's got a it's super inclusive, and we're passionate because we don't, and you can can, as
I
Matthew,
know, Mark, we're losing you a little
there's
bit.
There's so much there that it was fantastic.
All right. Well, I think we're just going
My
to close
kids
this.
are on Zoom.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. We have one
Wait.
last thing. Oh, Kim, what's happening?
Well, also our photo. Did we do our photo?
We have not done our
Good point.
Do
Yeah.
the photo. Hold on. Let me do the photo. All right.
ceremony.
Someone take the photo now, right? So whoever.
I got it.
Okay.
All right,
Ready?
everyone. One,
Hold
two.
on. Wait, no. Okay.
Everyone ready?
Banzai.
1, 2, 3.
Banzai.
Bye.
Nice. Good.
All
good.
right.
Beautiful.
Did we do the flowers? We didn't do the flowers.
Let's give each other some flowers. Kim, what do you have to say to us?
Thank you very much for all the speakers. I wish I were there in person to hand you these flowers, but instead I picked them from my garden and I'm
Aw.
hoping you're enjoying them from long distance. Thanks.
They're beautiful.
Awesome.
They're
Thank you.
beautiful.
Thank you.
And the
So
jars
sweet.
are beautiful too. Wow,
Thank
I'm
you,
I know,
Kim.
right?
loving
I
that.
have a rainbow of flower
Yeah.
vases my sister got me, so they sit in my window.
Aw.
Thank you.
So we want to thank all of you, the community, for hanging with us this evening, for just being our support system from afar as we work through what we're going through in this crazy world. We just thank you. We thank you to all the presenters tonight, to our MC, Nate Dogg, and of course, having Mark, Chris, and Jude, who is probably way past his bedtime, but
Came with us, Jude.
and Brian Peterson in his absence for just the vision between him and Mark. We just so appreciate you just putting this together, just having the vision to put this together tonight. So thank you, thank you, thank you. So we're gonna roll right into what we all needed to end the night. Take it away.
To cartwheel y'all off into the sunset.
All right. Yeah.
My legs were sore for like 3 days after I did all these cartwheels.
Awesome job, everybody.
Yeah.
Awesome job.
That was
So
fun.
much. Love from Tokyo.
Bye.
Thanks, Mark. Thanks,
Thanks,
everybody at
Mark.
home.
Bye,
For watching.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Good night.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
bye.
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 Okay, I think it's done.